Hello and welcome to One United. My name is Paritosh Joshi and I'm here along with Anshuman Joshi and Wally Siddiqui to bring you the fantastic news of Edinson Cavani staying at Manchester United. We'll also be reviewing the Roma game, the Aston Villa game. We'll be having a preview of the Leicester City game, Maguire's injury, and a lot more. First of all, welcome Wally, Anshuman. Happy days at Old Trafford. But the only spare thought for Harry Maguire. That is the only bad news we have. Else, then happy days. Edinson Cavani extends contract, and things are looking up for Manchester United.
Well, yes, absolutely. If you talk about our recent performances, it's been really good. And not just the results. Earlier, I used to say, like not so long ago, that we're getting good results, but we are not indicating good performances. But now things have changed. We're actually performing quite well, and we're also getting really good results. Yes, the Roma game, you could say that we ended up losing, but if you're already up by 4 goals, yeah, and there is that lack of motivation in the players. They've traveled a long way. Why they would say, yeah, we just give 60 or 70% of ourselves, and then probably we'll nick a goal or two, and then we're probably through. So yeah, it was a good few days. And as far as we're talking about Edison Cavani over here, I'm delighted that he's extended his contract because we really need him. And yes, you were talking about Harry Maguire. We'll get to that as well. But I would be even more worried if something happens to Edison Cavani at this stage because he's that pivotal for us and he needs to be available for us in the Europa League final as well. The
Yeah,
decisiveness, the movement,
let's
and the
let's
work
talk
ethic that
about
he brings.
let's talk
Yeah, yeah,
about him. Cavani has extended
yeah.
contract. That's the big news, and a fantastic news for Manchester United fans because we wanted him to stay. He has been in fairy form because of the run of games that he has had in the past few months, and now things finally look like shaping up for Manchester United. That we finally have a striker we can rely on for goals.
Well, yes, but the thing is that it's for another season, and I just wish that we got him like 3 or 4 years earlier because he is one of those strikers who could easily score beyond 25 to 30 goals. He is a veteran. He's scored, like I've said time and time again, he scored in the big tournaments such as the World Cup, the Copa America, the Champions League. He's an elite level striker, and the way that he moves within the box, it's like a proper fox in the box center forward that we talk about. His headers, I think he's one of the best in the world when it comes to headers, along with Cristiano Ronaldo, Robert Lewandowski. And it's been so long since we've actually seen good headed goals for Manchester United because Rashford, Martial, and Greenwood, let's be honest, they're not really good headers of the ball. And other than that, even when you look at the scrappy goals, he is really good at that. He is basically he has that instinct. A striker has that instinct.
An eye for goal.
You're not yeah, he has an eye for goal. Some things cannot be coached. Some things are
Mm.
within you, and that is something which is within Edison Cavani. And I'm so glad that he's extended his contract. It's also good for our young strikers who are within the club. And I just hope that he remains as fit as he, no, in fact, more. I wish he just remains even more fit next season. And I hope that there are people at Old Trafford witnessing greatness because he certainly deserves that. Basically, he deserves to be cheered on by the Old Trafford faithful, and I'm just ecstatic that he's extended his
Last two
contract.
games will have some fans. In the last two games, we'll have some fans at Old Trafford. So that is good. That is going to be interesting. Not only Old Trafford, at every other stadium, and that's going to be some sight with fans finally coming back to stadium. Anshuman, what are your thoughts about the Cavani contract extension? Because it has been a long time coming. We've been talking about it for a while now. That this has been agreed upon and it will finally be official. It is just made official an hour back, I guess. So, what are your thoughts about the whole situation?
Yeah, of course, 100% delighted that he has decided to stay for another year. And this was going on and off for a long time. Will he, won't he? And he had very legitimate reasons to wanting to move back to South America. So the fact that he has decided to stay is like, we are, as a fan, you can really say that we are just grateful for another year. I'm glad that he will hopefully now get the chance to see Old Trafford cheering his name in full capacity. And his performances have been absolutely fantastic. And look, the worries that I had when he signed were legitimate. I mean, he did have a little bit of time out injured, and those were the kind of apprehensions that I was hoping that he might not just end up becoming another Falcao. I'm glad that hasn't happened. He's been scoring goals. That rate has improved, and you see that what he offers, no one else does in our team. That amount, that kind of leadership up front, and the kind of number nine that he is, we needed someone like that. And now this could be prelude for bigger and better things to come if we play our cards right. Because now we have tied our best number nine down for at least another year, which is good for all of our youngsters. We know the amount of help he's providing to Mason Greenwood already. So yeah, all in all, that is an absolutely fantastic signing, and I'm glad that he's staying on for at least another year.
Yeah, at least another year, 1 year contract extension, all good things. And we finally have someone that the younger players can look up to. And that is something we lacked for a while now, that these younger players don't have a figure that they can look up to. And that was the case when Wayne Rooney was there, that younger players could look up to someone like him. Even when Percy was signed, that was the case. So we finally have someone that the younger players can learn a lot from. And that's the reason. That's one of the main reasons I think that Edinson Cavani is preferred by every Manchester United fan. Uh, I think that's it about the whole Cavani situation. He has been a fantastic signing for us, and we hope that he continues in same way. Now we'll be talking about the first UEL final for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, his first final for United, and we'll have to talk about the Roma defeat. It was a good a game we lost, but it was nonetheless a good footballing performance from both the teams. I think we can still give them give them one game off, that they were tired and because of all the traveling, and they knew that they had a buffer. But we'll still have to talk about it. Anshuman, what are your thoughts about the Roma game and United stand in the Europa League final? You are muted, Anshuman. Anshuman.
Sorry, sorry, my bad. You can't just help but not feel great for Solskjaer that he's finally able to make a final. So that at least we have broken the semi-final duck that we had. And look, we talked about the Roma game before it was going to happen, the second leg, and I said that I can see Roma scoring 4 goals, but I cannot see them scoring 4 goals and us not scoring any in response. And that was that, isn't it? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that was David De Gea's best performance this season. And
Yeah.
I'm just glad that he was able to produce that. Some of the saves that he made that night, man. I mean, Roma could easily have scored 7 goals were it not for David De Gea. Like this is a match that we had absolutely no right to give
Uh,
away, and
I
yet
think
we came at
I
the cusp of giving away.
I think it was his third best game where he had as many saves. I think it was 10 saves. He had the maximum number of saves against Newcastle United in game, that is 14. He had 12 against Arsenal, I think, in one game. And this was the third best game he ever had when we compare the amount of saves he had. That was 10, I think, against Roma. So that itself shows the kind of performance David De Gea put in.
Yeah, that was a fantastic performance, and I'm glad that he's able to provide one because he has had a lot of criticism. He's not no longer the number one, and I hope that was one to remind everyone that there's a reason why he's called one of the best goalkeepers in the world. He has been for quite a few years now, and I hope he gets to play in the final as well. He deserves to, absolutely, 100%. And look, the performance against Roma was fidgety. It was worrying to a certain degree defensively because we saw that once they scored those 2 goals, our defense was visibly trembling. And after that, after they had scored those 2 goals, they came close on two different occasions inside the next 2 minutes. So had those gone in, or had Roma capitalized on the chances that they had very early in the first half, this could have turned out to be a completely different match. But for better or worse, we had the edge. We had Edinson Cavani up front to bag those 2 goals in. So for better or worse, we were able to get through the tie, and that is the most important thing. I think this defeat has come at a great time because it's a reminder that Manchester United, it's a big reminder that there is a reason you are playing in the Europa League this season because you choked the fuck out of your group stages matches. You were at the top. You had absolutely no reason to worry about this. You had just one win to make, and you would have played Champions League football in the knockouts. Now you have reached Europa League, and there's a
One
reason for it.
point.
And that defeat, yeah, that defeat, 1 point. That defeat is a nice reminder with just one match to go that look, you have this in you. Now make sure this doesn't happen in the final because the team you're going to play up against, you're obviously going to be the favorite, but that team can beat you. They are also coming in the final playing their own set of matches. So treat them with respect and make sure we fucking win this trophy. That's the only way you can justify getting relegated to Europa League. So yeah, I think it
Yeah.
was an important defeat. There were some worrying signs, but I think we are in a position that we will be taking lessons from this and hope that this does not repeat in the final.
Yeah, we hope that this doesn't repeat in the final, and hopefully it won't. By the look of things, it is looking like a positive performance. So we hope that we finally are able to have a silverware, a piece of silverware under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Uh, let's shift our topic from this to the Aston Villa game. We had a comeback win yet again in the Premier League. That has been the norm for Manchester United throughout this season. And again, a win, a fantastic win at that, a 3-1 win against Aston Villa. So it was a positive performance. We went behind, as has been the norm for most of the days. Uh, an interesting thing about this is although I don't want to jinx this, but we have, I think, one more away game left against Leicester City, that is.
Yeah,
And if we are not defeated in that,
undefeated.
we'll go throughout the season undefeated away. So that is a huge statement in itself. We will talk about the Aston Villa game first. Uh, Wally, what do you think about the Aston Villa game?
It was a really good performance, like you said, and like you pointed it out. Away from home, we've been brilliant, and other than that, we've also lost the least amount of games this season in the Premier League. So,
Four, right?
like, I have been like one of the critics for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but over here, he deserves a lot of credit. And like I've said time and time again, uh, like he hates to lose. Like even if it's a nil-nil draw, okay, he doesn't care, but he just hates to lose. That's the mentality that we have right now. And we're a pretty hard team to beat. So, like the Tottenham game was, I think, a big icebreaker for him,
6-1, yeah.
and supposedly it changed his mentality a little bit, and it's been quite significant so far. And yeah, the Aston Villa game. Talking about that, I think I'm no longer annoyed or afraid when we concede the first goal for some reason, especially in the first half, because I'm pretty much confident that we'll be back in the second half, and that is exactly what happened.
Especially
And
when Pogba and other players are fit and if they are to
yeah,
play.
and this is what I admire now about Solskjaer, that he's persisting with Paul Pogba up front. Earlier, we
Mm.
weren't creating as many chances, but now the runs that he's making, the passes that he's making, even the penalty that he won yesterday, like all of these things that he's doing is actually quite pivotal, and he needs to play further up front. Yes, you could say that as a result of that, Marcus Rashford has to sacrifice his pace towards the right, but we all see the effectiveness of Paul Pogba, and we all hope that Marcus Rashford recovers, because it's been now more than a month, I guess, that he's been struggling to find form. Yeah, he got his assist yesterday, but we all know that he could do much better over here. And if we talk about the Europa League final, I honestly would prefer Mason Greenwood on the right on the basis of form than Marcus Rashford, but that's a different story. And yeah, Mason Greenwood, man, what a talent he is. He had we all were talking about his poor season at the beginning, and now if you look at him, it's like he's been competing with Edison Cavani. Like these two players, actually, people were actually criticizing them early on in the season that they weren't effective, but now you look at them, they're banging in goals left, right, and center, and that's brilliant to see. Other than that, the good thing is we're not relying a lot on Bruno Fernandes. That's one thing that we must have noticed. And the
Mm.
one more thing that you notice is, you remember the Hollywood balls that Bruno Fernandes used to play? That those have actually
Yeah,
decreased. So
yeah.
credit goes to the manager once again over here, because now he's actually getting support from the players up top. If you actually play with world class players such as Edison Cavani and Paul Pogba up top, then you would actually not have as much pressure. So that's good to see, and it was a really good performance, like I said. And yeah, so roll on Leicester. We just hope that we'll win. Yeah, it might be a slightly deplete. Not, I wouldn't say depleted, but it would be a B team. But I think we have it in us to get the win. So yeah, let's just see.
Okay. Anshuman, what are your thoughts about the Aston Villa game and the performance regarding the comeback win?
Yeah, like Wally pointed out, that it wasn't really that much of a worry when we went one goal down, because that just felt like, okay, now we are going to start to play. That's just rudimentary at this point. So yeah, that happened. We went into the at the end of the first half, one goal behind, won the game 3-1. That's just part and parcel for us now. And yeah, really happy to see Mason Greenwood finally scoring goals. I mean, we have talked about the kind of season he has had since the start. I mean, the whole Iceland situation, and then the not getting enough protection when he needed that, then losing his friend, as we know he has, that has really helped. That obviously would have affected him. And the criticism then you start getting when you have had the season you did last time round, and then you are not scoring. I mean, people so easily forget that he's just 19 years of age, and still now he has like 13, 14 goals in all competitions, and this we still have 5 matches to go. So it could be anything. And so I'm really glad for that. Greenwood was able to score another goal. Cavani's header was absolutely fantastic. That was a positional masterclass. Like this is what we always talk about. That guy knows his movement, and he's able to show us that week in week out. So it was a very decent performance. My biggest takeaway from the match was that I wasn't really much worried about the game, but maybe that was also because of the fact that I haven't really cared much for what happens to United season at this point, because everything that has happened over the past 2 3 weeks. So you take a talk about the Super League, you talk about the Glazer protest, you talk about the letters that the supporters have sent to Joel Glazer, and the letter that Joel Glazer has sent back. So this season in microcosm has really felt much relevant towards the end of the season when you have all of those things going in the background. So there was an element to that as well. And we have our next 3 matches at home as well now. The Leicester match, the Liverpool match, the Fulham match, they are all at home. So it will be interesting to see what happens, what becomes of the protests, and whether those matches even go ahead or not, because we don't know the kind of penalty we could get. We don't really know the situations that are going to happen. So it is an interesting week ahead of us to see where we are going with the protest, whether the matches are going to happen, and then we'll talk about whether we are winning or drawing or doing anything on the pitch.
Yeah, that's pretty much it about the whole situation. And I think when we're talking about the ESL and the whole situation regarding European football, we'll have to talk about the Joel Glazer letter to the fans, and that has been of some controversy because he refused to make a statement earlier. Now he has released a statement. We'll talk about it. I'll let Anshuman take the floor because he's, I think, quite motivated to talk about it. What do you think about the whole situation regarding Joel Glazer and his letter?
So his letter has come as a response to the one Manchester United supporter trust gave him, and kudos to them for writing that letter, because the protests, there was a lot of discussion regarding the protests. They are getting violent, they're missing the point, and the supporter trust, the message that they put out was very calculated, was very realistic, and that was basically inviting the Glazers for a discussion. They were saying that, look, you are the owners, and there's nothing that we can do directly to affect that, but we are going to protest, and we are going to make sure that in time you leave, because we don't want you here. We don't care what you're saying. We don't care with the apologies. We don't accept it. It's all bullshit. We want you out. So that's basically what they said. And then they laid out a 4-point plan, which basically summarized that they want to come on the table. They want to have constructive, direct dialogue directly with the Glazers, not through letters that Joel Glazer is not writing. It's a PR team that is lawyering up the whole statement. So we want a direct discussion with you. We want you to talk to us. We want us to talk to you. We want to have open discussion regarding the stadium, regarding the training ground that have now left dilapidated because you have never really cared about any of that. We want to have a direct discourse regarding what happens to the squad. We want footballing oriented discussions. We want to make sure that what you are doing affects the community in a positive way, that you're working towards this community, because even the kind of money that your Gulf states are providing, even they are providing positive effect to the community, and you are not doing that. So that is the first thing that they said, that we want to come at the table and we want to talk to you, and we are going to start a constructive dialogue. We start with baby steps, and then they had pointed out that we want you to encourage fan ownership of the club. And by that, they did not mean that you're just going to sit there and you're going to give us all your money. Of course not. That was a very realistic point to be made. What they said was, in time, we are going to prepare to buy your shares out the same way you bought our shares out in 2003 when you started doing this, when you bought the whole club out. We are going to start doing this gradually. You're not going to stop us. You're going to encourage us. And in time, because there is no legislation for 50+1. So fan ownership has to be forced in this way only. So what they said basically was that in time, we are going to start buying out your shares. You're going to work with us. You're going to encourage us to do that. And in time, we'll buy you out completely. When that happens, we don't know. But this is what we want. We are going to work with you because we have to work with you. There's no other way for us to do that. So that was the 4-point plan that supporters trust provided. Joel Glazer, in the name of Joel Glazer, there was a response which was promptly given in the time limit that the supporters trust asked. And you read that letter first, and the first thing that comes to your mind is that he hasn't written it. Of course, Joel Glazer hasn't written it.
Yeah.
So the salient features of that letter are basically once again reinstating that we apologize for the Super League, which again is bullshit, basically. But the interesting part that was that at least the letter acknowledged the 4 points that the supporters trust had written about, and it acknowledged that we are going to start an open dialogue with you guys. We are going to talk about the stadium. We are going to talk about the training ground. We're going to talk about the squad developments. Oli is here to stay. We know he is the guy for the future. This was written in his contract. The most important thing that was written in his letter was that yes, we have been yes, the fan ownership is something that we are going to encourage. This is a dialogue that we are going to have with you, and that for me was the biggest point. I don't care if Joel Glazer did not write the letter, but this is a letter that is written in his name. So
Mm.
legally, he takes the responsibility for everything that letter entails. So in his name, they are saying that we are going to start talking about this. We are going to start talking about this in detail, and we are going to talk about fan ownership as well. Yes, we will talk about the shares, which was crucial for me when they pointed this out that yes, we will encourage and allow you to buy out our shares, and they didn't say entirely that we'll go or anything, but they acquiesced to the fact that yes, this is going to happen. We're going to talk about this now. From a very neutral standpoint, there is a supporter stress letter that has been given to the owners, and the owners have responded. Now, we can make a lot of discussion about this, right? That okay, this is bullshit. The Joel hasn't written this. Of course, he hasn't written this. But what else can you do right now as a Manchester United fan, especially as overseas Manchester United fans? We really don't have a lot more agency than that. And what I can say is that this has really. I think the only thing that you can summarize is that these protests, they really have made a difference, because Joel Glazer never bothered to talk about anything. He never came to talk to us. He never bothered to put his name in a letter ever since 2005 when the acquisition was completed. And in the space of 3 weeks, he has had to make three different statements. At least there have been three different statements in his name. So this is massive. This is unprecedented. He never do this. So for him to
Mm.
come out and do this, first of all, this is change. This means that whatever it is that the United fans have done, that has made a difference, and that is important. That part was important for me to acknowledge. The other part was where they're even coming out and legally accepting the fact that they'll be open to discussion about fan ownership, which is quite important. Basically, what they're saying is, if you want to come and get our shares, we are here. We are ready to talk about it. And that is something that I took away. That even if you take fans out of the equation, they are ready to listen. They are ready to listen about the money if they get the right amount. And look, we have always talked about the amount that it's too big, not everyone can come in. But the fact that they're agreeing to this, just this part, that okay, we listen. What if you are bringing the money, we listen, which means that they have started considering Manchester United too big a problem for them. Because I think we have
Mm.
broached the subject beforehand as well, that the Super League
Mm.
had to be their end game. And now that they have realized
Mm.
that guaranteed revenue closed shops cannot exist in European football, and if
Mm.
fans are going to continue to protest like this, then there is not much. How long are you going to really take care of the situation? Because
Mm.
this feels increasingly problematic to them. And yes, it
Mm.
feels helpless as a fan that at the end of the day, this is their club. Technically,
Mm.
Manchester United is a Glazer entity. So every single thing that we say at the end of the day means very little. But there is voice,
Mm.
there is power in in numbers that we have been able to provoke. The protests that we had, they have had it. They have had the difference. And only last night we had one of our potential training kit sponsors pulling out because they did not want to
Yeah.
be any part of this. So that's also big. And if that starts a domino effect of brands not wanting to continue with Manchester United, then this entire global commercial entity that they have built in over 16 years, that will start to crumble. And this, so we are starting to see Glazers, at least from what they have said out loud in their statements, that it just feels like that they are starting to feel maybe this is getting too problematic, maybe this is just too
Mm.
much work. And it will be interesting to see where they go, because look, statements can be shared week in week out. We can write another
Mm.
statement, they'll respond again. It will not matter for much anyway. Now all we
Mm.
can do is wait and see that if they can back that statement with any action. We can only wait and see if Joel Glazer rears his face and directly talks to the fan in the fan forums that will take place from here on out. We'll see if there is any investment in Old Trafford that, by all accounts, has become dilapidated at this point. We don't get this because we are seeing it on telly. but every single Manchester United fan who frequents it week in week out as is customary, they're talking that they always say that the Old Trafford has become dilapidated. It's absolutely pathetic situation, and that it deserves to be renovated. It deserves to become the name that it is. That the
Yeah,
stadium is. It deserves that name. So all we can do right now is just wait and see if they back that with action. But the statements were
I
quite
think
important because
I don't think they are going to, because what the estimated amount is for the renovation and the whole situation regarding the stadium is around 200 million, and they are going to infuse that kind of funds into the club. I think they are willing to
that's not
sell
happening
it.
straight away. That's obviously not
Yeah,
happening straight away. But the biggest point that I took from the whole letter exchange is that all we can that they are starting to at least admit that okay, a dialogue has to be made, and now we can all see.
mm,
Now we can all just wait and see if that dialogue, if they can back that with action, if dialogue happens. So yeah, that was the major development for me over the past 2 weeks, other than the matches that we have been playing.
yeah. I think that's that about the whole situation. We'll have to shift our focus on the games at hand now. And the first of them is the Leicester City game, a big game, and this is going to be a sensational game, especially for Leicester City because they have a final to play against Chelsea, then a Premier League. They have a Premier League game against Chelsea, then a final to play against Chelsea, FA Cup, and then they have a game against Tottenham. So this is going to be really tough for them in the final few games. We'll talk about it. Firstly, let us start with Leicester City game, Manchester United versus Leicester City, and I think this is going to be one of those games where Leicester City come to realize that time and again they are running out of gas by the end of the tournament. Wally, what do you think about it?
Well, it's typical to Leicester City. It happened to them last season as well. I think we were
Yeah,
9 or 10, 12 points behind them before lockdown. And then we started chasing them. We started winning. We became 3-0 FC. And then all of a sudden, we drew against Southampton. And then the last game of the season, oh my God, I remember that, how nervous we all were because we just had to win that game in order to qualify for the Champions League. Because apparently we thought that Jadon Sancho will be signing for us if we win that game. and and no, there was
so
no point of
so
winning that
juvenile
game.
of us.
And,
So
and and we
juvenile of us.
also and we also exited in the group stages as
So
well. So
juvenile
it was
of us and the whole United fan base. The whole
exactly. But
United fan
that
base. Well,
yeah, but it's typical United because when we are interested in a player from last season, we end up signing him this season, and that is exactly what is I think going to happen because he is one of our primary targets. But according to reports, I've also seen that since we have Mason Greenwood, we don't need Jadon Sancho anymore. And if that does happen, and that'll anger me even more. And like Anshuman said, like he was talking about the Glazers over here, I think this summer is I'm slightly deviating from the topic over here. This summer is going to be so important, not just for us, but for the Glazers as well. Because if they don't deliver us the signings that we need, they already know that the Manchester United fans are angry. It's not going to be like last season or last season that we just tweet hashtag Glazers out. They're going to go
because
on the
we
street.
finally have a chance to challenge for the
Exactly.
Premier League and legitimately challenge for titles. We could be as good as the former sides that we have had, and that's why I think the fans are triggered. That if we had
Right.
Jadon Sancho and other signings in the summer, maybe we could have challenged for the title even better. Maybe
Absolutely.
the point difference wouldn't have been this much.
I agree with that. If we had a central defensive midfielder, a right winger, I think we could have gone the distance. So that is my case because if they don't deliver, they're going to get it from the fans. And already, like Anshuman has said, the fans are actually have organized this quite well. The game prior to Liverpool, it wasn't the first protest; it was the second one, and apparently they're planning a third one as well. And other than that,
But
they're also
it
planning.
would the similar
It,
protests wouldn't be possible
yeah,
because
it
from what
won't be
I've seen,
similar. It won't be
no,
similar.
they have surrounded, they have barricaded the whole Old Trafford from
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
latest
But
visuals
but
that I've seen.
yeah, but the point is that they might be a protest, and the other thing is that they're also planning to boycott buying the merchandise and all that. So it's going to be
Mhm.
quite. It's actually it's going to
Hit
affect
him
them a
where it
lot.
hurts
They
the
know that.
most.
And we often talk about 2005 there was we protested in 2005 2006 there wasn't any progress over there, but this is 2021, we're in the age of
Mhm.
social media, and this is the big factor because you're actually reaching out to people who are actually not within your range and you're motivating them to come to the streets, and that's actually happening.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
they have to be quite careful. They have to deliver as the signings. And now coming back to the Leicester game, I think it's going to be an interesting one. Leicester City will have to go all guns blazing. They know that Liverpool are breathing down their necks. They have to win. United, I think they can afford to lose because we've pretty much just sealed the second position. We've sealed Champions League. We've pretty much sealed the second position as well, I guess. And it's
No,
going to be interesting how
we don't want City to win this way. No.
behind the scenes. I think that's the best way for making for making City the champion. They'll have to
If they
celebrate in
draw
the
two games and lose one, if they draw two games and
yeah.
lose one, and we win all three, you never know. You never know.
The thing is that
Anshuman,
yeah,
do you think we are winning the league? Is
yeah,
Oh,
number
we
Anshuman
are
thinks
winning the
that
21
league.
coming?
There's no doubt about that.
he
Don't
has
listen to
his number
Wally.
20,
He's pessimist.
21 and
We are
21
winning the league.
Josie printed out, right? You have the
We have
21
a
and 21.
comment as well. We have a comment
Yeah,
as well. The Glazers out protest would benefit a little for Ole this summer, says Rohan. Yes, I think that is quite right. He's quite spot on with that, and we talked about it a little bit. That the protest would in turn be beneficial for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and his transfer requirements.
he's
Yes,
secretly
talk
loving it.
about yeah. He
Ole
must
Gunnar
be. He must
Solskjaer,
be.
yeah.
Yeah, he must be. Yeah, you were
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah. So the Leicester game is
the
going to
next
be
one.
interesting.
Yeah.
They beat us in the FA Cup semi-final. Was it? Yeah, it was in the semi-final. And in spite of their losses to Newcastle, they were battered against Newcastle. I saw the first half. I didn't see the second half. Like two
Mm.
open chances Newcastle missed in the early 15 to 20 minutes, and in spite of that, they ended up scoring 4 goals. So I do not know what's wrong with Leicester. They actually have a really good season, but by the end of seven or by the end of the season, they crash out of the top four for some reason, and they will once again have the nerves because last season the same thing happened to them. So yeah, they will
Mm.
be a little nervous, but I think that they will be the favorites over here because I don't think that we'll have a similar team over here. We'll be discussing about the 11s right later on, or should we talk about it right now?
We'll
Like
be talking about it. We'll be talking about it in the next bit.
yeah,
Uh,
so I think
Leonard
it's
is
going to
here
be a
in the chat.
beating.
Leonard
Okay,
says rotation needed against Leicester. Play Amad. Yeah,
absolutely, man.
I think Amad Diallo should get a chance.
But he won't play. I know that.
Yeah, quite difficult, but Leicester City game is a one-off. I
He
think
should.
the Leicester City game, he can out of any game, if you can see him in a game, that is the Leicester City game because we have Liverpool just after this, and there are games in coming thick and fast. So this is one game where Emma Diallo can actually play a part. Anshuman, what are your thoughts about the Leicester City game and about the situation regarding Amad Diallo, which Derek pointed out?
Well, I think if we were to concede any match before it even started, I think it would be this match. And if United were to lose tomorrow, I don't think I'll be that bothered about it because
Uh,
this is something that has been a consequence of our own actions. And when you go out and when you protest vociferously and you go onto the pitch, and
mm,
then whatever sanctions that come your way, you have to own that. So that is
mm,
what this is. And Solskjaer has already talked about countless number of times that look, the squad that I'm gonna put out in any one of these matches are not gonna be nice. You're not gonna like them, and that is not my problem because the fans, the managers, none of us planned this. This is a situation
mm,
that has been thrown on us. We have been thrown under the bus with the situation, and however what your reasons were, that is happening on the pitch. We have very little agency over. So when I put
mm,
out a team and when I put out a weekend team, then you need to understand why I'm doing that because the players
mm,
need to be preserved. And the biggest point that I think we have missed so far is Harry Maguire's injury. And that is,
mm,
if that man is going down, then that means that United, every single big player of us needs to be wrapped in bubble wrap right now. That is our biggest situation right now. Because if of all people, we have seen Rashford going down, we have seen Bruno going down, Cavani going down. When Maguire goes down, this is the man who has continuously played 71 matches for us since he started last year. He has already made more than 100 appearances. That's massive. And a lot has been said about Maguire because he doesn't have more than 60 pace in FIFA and he looks like a fridge. So and he has 80 million price tag. So a lot has been said about him not being a good defender. And I've said this before. He's our best defender. Why is our most important defender? Because he's the only one in the squad right now that complements Maguire. And then we have had our
mm,
discussions regarding why Bailly and Harry Maguire don't start often and why it has to be Lindelof. We've all been there. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Maguire and if he can come back before the Europa League final because having him is absolutely important for us. And look, the Leicester game, I'm not that worried about. Solskjaer has already intimated that he'll be making a lot of changes. So the likes of Shoretire, the likes of Diallo, Van de Beek, Alex Telles, Brandon Williams, everyone is on the table. They are all going to play. In whether they start or they come from the bench, that's going to be a different discussion. But I think they're all going to play, and it will be interesting to see, because with our bench players, the biggest problem is that they don't get as much game time on the pitch as our first team does. And this is what happens when you have a team, that when you try to play your best team. That's what we have seen with the likes of West Ham as well. That when you try to play your strongest team, then every single one who's not playing, then it becomes a problem for them, because if they're not getting match fit, if they're not playing minutes on the pitch, then obviously they are not going to perform and gel well together as much as the first team will. And look, kudos to Oli to manage them behind the scenes and keeping them all happy and keeping a healthy dressing room. But that is something that you cannot find a substitute for. For players to gel well together, you're going to have to play them on the pitch, and we don't do that as usual. So this is going to be a challenging one, bringing all of them at the same time, like we saw with the Roma match, when both of our wing fullbacks went, and we bought our second choice fullbacks. And they might be good at themselves, but bringing both of them out simultaneously became a problem for us. So it will be interesting to see what happens in that regard. That the defenders are already going to change. If were it not for Harry Maguire's injury, he would have started 100%. But I think we'll be very lucky if he manages to make for the UVL final as well. So we'll see what happens in that regard. Otherwise, I'm really assuming a slight severely weaker side. And do I think that we can hold our own against Leicester? I think we can. If not win, then we can draw. Because for Leicester, this is problematic. Their last three matches are what? Tottenham and Chelsea, and now Manchester United, and they need any result that they can get tomorrow. That might be the final points they get this season, because you can draw against Chelsea, but it's very hard to beat them. And when you face Tottenham in the last match of the season, Tottenham might as well be gunning for a European place. So that will be a one-off final for them that they will have to perform in. And Leicester City have a track record of not being able to hold their own in matches like that. So tomorrow's match, they are going as much as they can. They'll putting out the strongest squad, and they also have a defender's injury, because Johnny Evans went out, was declared injured in the training for previous match against Newcastle, and that proved critical. And if the Newcastle performance is anything to go by, then Leicester can be got at, and they are going to score goals. So it will be interesting to see if our second string team are able to hold that onslaught. So we can very much draw this match. I'm not ruling that out. A draw seems like a very likely situation right now.
Okay, let's quickly wrap this up. Wally, do you want to talk about Maguire's injury, or do you have anything else to add on? Because I think Anshuman has covered most of all.
Yeah, all I want to say is that knowing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think Harry Maguire will play with his cast on tomorrow. Because he just loves him so much. But yeah, I agree with Anshuman over here. Like, we have criticized Harry Maguire in the past, but if you look at the recent games, he's actually improved to a significant level. He's actually commanding the box, and it's Lindelof who's looked a little weak. Even if you look at the last game against Aston Villa, the first goal, I would say it was Scott McTominay and Lindelof who were at fault. He should have been stronger over there. Lindelof, you're a centre back. Like, he's really good with the ball. Like, you've seen his passes to Rashford, which actually turned into assists. But you're a centre back. You have to be a little strong, and you have to nudge the centre forward outside of the game. And
he is turning into another Daily Blind.
Yeah. You could say that. Even Daily Blind was similar, because he was good with the ball, but physically he didn't offer much. And I hope that the partnership of Lindelof and Bai, like for however long we have, actually works out. And yeah, Harry Maguire needs to get back, and he would be a big miss if he misses out in the Europa League final.
Yep, and I think that's that about the whole injury and Leicester City versus Manchester United. Let's quickly finish this up. The team lineups and score predictions. What is the team lineup?
Most difficult. This is going to be the most difficult team lineup. No one's going to get this right, by the way.
Okay, I'll talk to you first. Then. What is your playing 11 against Leicester?
Okay, so Dean Henderson starts.
Okay.
Aaron Van Bissaka starts as well, I guess, because he needs to, and I don't think
Liverpool game you won't rest him for the Liverpool game.
Aaron Van Bissaka starts every game for me, and then you have Victor Lindelof and Eric Bai. Left back Alex Telles. You need at least you need one of your.
Hey, what is up with Tuanzebe? What is up with Tuanzebe?
Tuanzebe, I don't know, man. Ole doesn't trust him as much.
I think this is one game where we can see.
Yeah, probably Lindelof could be given a break, and it could be Bai and Tuanzebe.
Because the Liverpool game is up next, no?
but I still believe that he'll persist with Lindelof for some reason. And Wan-Bissaka, either Luke Shaw or Wan-Bissaka have to be there, I feel. And then
Oh,
central midfield. I think Matic gets a start tomorrow. Will Fred start? I don't know, man. Will Fred start? Who else is there in central midfield?
central
Donny van de
midfield. Who
Beek.
do you
Yeah,
want?
Donny van de Beek. I think Donny van de Beek needs to start in central midfield. How could I forget him, man? And then who else is there?
Anshuman,
Then
you are muted.
you were saying something. Okay, then I think if not Ahmad, I don't think Ahmad Diallo is going to start. Even though I would love for him to start,
From the
I think it's
right.
going to be Juan. I think it's going to be Juan Mata, and then center forward. I think it's going to be Mason Greenwood, and on the left, who starts on the left? I have no clue who starts on the left.
Martial.
Shit.
Anthony Martial.
Yeah, Marshall is still injured, man. This was his perfect opportunity to at least stat pad and all that, but he's still injured. So I don't know who's going to start on the left. Anshuman, you need to help me out, bro.
Now
I
Wally
have
has
no clue
finally
who starts.
shifted base from Anthony Martial FC to Pogba FC.
Nah, I'm still Anthony
Anshuman,
Marshall FC guy.
Anshuman, who do you think is going to start from the left?
I have absolutely no idea. But the way I see that is if he were to start with a 4-3-3 formation,
Rashford.
then there will be few players that he will put in the starting and then he'll take him off as and when is required. So I think one of them
Hmm.
is going to be Pogba. Uh, I think Pogba and Bruno are going to feature in one way or the other. Wan-Bissaka is
Hmm.
going to be one. And if I think Wan-Bissaka can start or
Bruno
I
is
think
going to
Wan-Bissaka
start.
will start because from the
Bruno.
left back we're going to have Alex Telles, so one of them has to be there. So
Hmm.
that is what's going to happen. I think Tuanzebe can make an appearance. I don't know if how much Oli trusts him at the moment, but I
Hmm.
think this is if
It's
there's any
tough for
match you
him.
can give Tuanzebe.
It's tough for him because
It
Bai's
is.
contract
It is
has
tough
been.
for any. It's tough for any second string player to come in and just
Yeah.
perform it. It's going to be tough for everyone. But if you think about the other matches, the Liverpool match, the Fulham Wolves match, and then the Villarreal match, and if there is any match you could give him a chance to, this is one. So I would like to see Bailly and Tuanzebe start. Let's see what happens. If everything is up in the air and this is the match that we can afford losing, might as well go on all guns blazing. I agree that
Hmm.
Matic is going to start because
Hmm.
we need some sort of midfield control against the likes of Wilfred Ndidi and Yuri Tielemans, and we don't have that.
Hmm.
We don't get that with
Hmm.
Sergeant McTominay, and they are going to be rested because they will be crucial in withholding Liverpool's press because they don't have play any other way. So they will be starting on Thursday. So Matic will be
Hmm.
our CDM. I would like to see Donny start with Mata, but Mata is not going to play. I think it's going to be Bruno. And I think that's something that can be swapped between them. I think Bruno can start or Mata can come from the bench and vice versa. From the left, I
Hmm.
think we are going to see Pogba, and then he will be taken off at
Hmm.
halftime or at 60, 70, 60, 65-minute marks. He will be taken off. The front man will be Mason Greenwood, and from the right, I'd like to see Amad Diallo. He is good enough to play, and this is one of those matches where he has to play, so bring him on.
Dan James is injured as well,
Oh,
I guess. So I think all the more
Yeah, he's
reason to
also
play
injured.
Diallo.
okay. So Dan James is injured. Anthony Martial is injured. We can see Tuanzebe with Lindelof being rested, but who knows? So I think that's that about the whole situation. I still believe that Rashford can start. I don't know for some reason. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is, I think, too afraid to rest all the players at once. Maguire is
Not
because
a
if
bad shout.
Maguire,
Not a bad shout. He can start
uh,
because then
he
you
can
can put
start
Rashford
because
on the bench and have
yeah,
Greenwood from
bench,
the right hand side
yeah,
and Pogba on the left
yeah,
against Liverpool. Yeah, good shout.
yeah.
Good shout.
Uh, because I think Rashford can start. So that's that. I think that's the only major change from the lineup. I think David De Gea is going to be rested with Dean Anderson playing because David De Gea is crucial for the Liverpool game, and we have games coming in thick and fast. And
David De Gea will play
I
in the Europa League. He's not playing in the Premier League nowadays.
no, but I still
You
believe
see.
Liverpool game is too big a game to give
Oh,
it to Dean Henderson.
let's see.
Yeah,
Nah, I think he'll give it to Dean.
you never know, man. With Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you never know, especially with the situation right now. Okay, so that's that about the whole lineup and situation. What is going to be the score prediction from you guys? First, it's Wali.
I think it's going to be a nil-nil. We're going to be conservative tomorrow, and I wouldn't be mad if we draw nil-nil. I think it'll be fine.
Okay, Anshuman, what are your thoughts about the game and what's going to be the score?
Yeah, a draw is a pretty great shout. I think
A
I'm gonna
scoring
say
draw
one
or a
one,
nil draw? Yeah,
1-1. I'll go 1-1.
yeah. Okay. I don't believe it is going to be a draw because Leicester City are going to push. I don't think they're going to be complacent because they know Liverpool are breathing down their necks. So if they even if I still don't believe that this is a nil-nil game. Either it's a 1-0 or 2-1 kind of game, and I believe Leicester can make it, but because of the whole pressing, Leicester are vulnerable in the back, so we can win it as well. So I still believe United. So I think it's going to be a 2-1 United win at Old Trafford, and this is going to be the first of few home games that we are going to have.
Is it
Wolves
at
game
Old
is the
Trafford or
final.
is it at King Power?
No, 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 it's Old Trafford,
No,
Man
home game.
City
Home game.
home
Okay,
game.
okay.
Yeah, Old Trafford, because that's why the whole ground is barricaded to protect the fans. Because if they are to protest, the game is to be at Old Trafford. It's at Old Trafford. The Liverpool game is at Old Trafford. The only one Wolves game is away, else all are home games. So if we, this is also another important stat that we forget to talk about, and we'll talk about it more in the Wolves preview. That if we manage to draw or win, draw being the least against Wolves, will be going throughout the season undefeated away from home, and we'll talk more about this particular situation, because this is a massive start for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United, especially for the fans who were constantly asking for his head whenever Manchester United were playing poorly, especially after the 6-1 loss to Tottenham. Yeah, I think that's that. Any final thoughts, Wali and Anshuman? Wali first. Final
Yeah,
thoughts?
we haven't bantered Arsenal for quite a while, man. I think we need to say something about them.
I don't know, man. They are a mid-table team now. I don't want to talk about
Man, they're dead, man. I feel sorry for
it.
their
It's
fans.
not even mid.
They're
It's
dead.
not mid-table. And they were at ESL. How the hell are they going to compete with with these teams with a squad like that? I fail to garner that fact. I'm
You know
not
what?
able to
You know
understand.
what amused me? Like Aubameyang. Okay, I think that yeah, Lacazette is. I consider Lacazette to be better than Aubameyang, but the guy hit the post twice, and he took him.
Yeah,
And he took him
yeah,
off the field, and he
yeah.
substituted him with Willian. I'm like, oh my goodness, man, this guy.
And and
Arteta.
and according to Arsenal fans, he is the greatest manager after Pep Guardiola.
Yeah. Now the Arsenal fans are
That
done
was
with
the
him, man.
turning point for a lot of fans that night. Like when he took
Yeah,
Aubameyang off, and everyone
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Why the fuck is?" Because Arsenal had nothing. They had to score one goal, and Geronimo Rui for
The
Bavaria as
only player
keeper,
who
he
can
had
score for you.
nothing to do.
The
He had
only
nothing
player
to
who
do,
can
and
score for you.
It's like taking Bruno
when you
off.
make that kind of decisions as Arteta, like you're gonna have to take up the responsibility for whatever
Yeah,
comes after that. So
yeah, especially because we criticized
really,
only throughout the season for some substitutions like that,
Yeah.
which we failed to register, because at some points there was a game, I think, where
PSG.
we
He didn't
had
take
to
off Fred.
score.
He
Yeah,
wasn't.
he didn't
He
take
had a
off
yellow
Fred,
card. Yeah.
and
the
even
PSG match,
yeah, PSG match, Istanbul game, even the substitutions were
the second PSG match.
the second PSG match,
Yeah.
the one we lost at Old Trafford, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that resulted in the red card, and later that was the crucial point.
You know,
And
earlier this season he used to make substitutions after the 80th minute, but now he's actually changed, and now he's making early substitutions as
His
well. So that's good to
substitutions
see.
yeah,
has
but
been the most contributing ones. He has made the most
hmm,
successful contributions, the most
yeah, yeah,
game-changing
yeah,
contributions in recent weeks.
yeah. Not in recent weeks. Throughout the season, he has
Overall,
had
overall.
controversial. He has had controversial substitutions where we criticized him, but there was this stat that 31 points, I think,
From losing
was
positions.
the from losing positions they've secured. And if we remove these 31 points, we'll be having similar
Newcastle.
points to Newcastle United.
Yeah.
This is quite earth shattering. So if uh, this is to have a say, I think Ole needs to be credited for this. Although players have had their part and they have played fantastic, especially with the likes of Paul Pogba, because he has had come off the bench for quite a while in many games and rescued points for us. But much of it has also got to go to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because the way he has managed his players is fantastic. And this is the same team which looked like shambles. Only although Bruno Fernandes is a crucial part, a crucial cog in the wheel, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done a fantastic job. We'll talk about it later on, and that's that from One United. From me, Paratosh Joshi, Wali Siddiqui, and Anshuma Joshi. We'll be seeing you guys again very soon. I think straight after the Leicester game, hopefully. And yeah, let's talk about Manchester United, and hopefully have some silverware by the end of things. Peace out.